ज्योति स्टेनोटाइपिंग कॉलेज में आप सभी का स्वागत है बच्चों। अब ये जो डिक्टेशन है ये 100 WPM के लिए है, यानी कि 100 की स्पीड की अगर आपका एग्ज़ाम है तो ये डिक्टेशन आप जो है वो लिख सकते हैं और फिर जो है इसको पढ़ के इसको वेबसाइट पे जाके टाइप कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, तो मैं पढ़ने जा रहा हूँ कैलाश चंद्र डिक्टेशन नंबर 248 249। डिक्टेशन स्टार्ट आफ्टर 5 सेकेंड। At a time when the bill in its present form is going to be considered by the House, and when, after a short while, it is going to be passed through its final stages, I shall be failing in my duty if I do not express the viewpoint on this bill, not only of myself but also of that section of the community which claims to have played during the last 2.5 years a glorious part in the hour of our national crisis. While I do not propose to move any amendments, all the same I should like to seize this opportunity to state that I am not enthusiastic nor at all happy over this bill. While I do not deny that there are some beneficial sections in this bill from the point of view of labor, but taken as a whole, this bill in the chain of the existing legislation will add to the hardships that the working class is subjected to in this country. What is the position in the country today? Labor desires peace, and in spite of the political manipulations to exploit labor for their own political ends, labor has still maintained the industrial production and also maintained peace. It has refrained as a general rule from resorting to industrial strikes. During the last 2.5 years, it has aspired to secure settlement of its legitimate grievances not by direct action but through peaceful methods of conciliation and failing that arbitration. But what is the position today? In spite of the best desire of the working class in this country to maintain industrial peace and to take resort to constitutional methods, the position today is that there is a law which was an improvement on the old position. All the same, as has been amply demonstrated in the course of the last 2 years, the existing law is utterly ineffective to do justice to the working class. In the first place, although the machinery of adjudication is there have been numerous instances in which there has been not only delay but also reluctance on the part of the various state authorities to refer disputes to the tribunal. Secondly, even if disputes were referred to the tribunals, there was no time limit, with the result that the proceedings before these tribunals dragged on not for months but at times for years. When they ultimately did give an award, there was no sanction in the existing legislation, with the result that there have been instances of floating of awards. If this new machinery is added to the existing legislation, it is bound to be utilized to delay justice, which is already delayed. The other day I spoke on the labor relations bill and I pointed out certain defects, but all the same I supported the structural principles of the bill, as I felt that it registered a substantial improvement on the present legislation. Now the appellate tribunal forms a chapter of the labor relations bill, and the best policy would have been to consider these provisions in regard to appellate tribunals, having in view the entire concept of labor management relationship as conceived in the labor relations bill. It will then be possible to judge in the first place whether appellate tribunals are necessary, and if so, to what extent it is desirable to give them powers, and to what extent to have their scope broadened or narrowed down. Now, taking a leaf out of the old thing and putting it on the statute book is bound to create a most unfavorable psychological atmosphere in the country. It has been stated that as a matter of urgency, the appellate tribunal bill should be proceeded with, but I submit that even if it may be considered that it is an important matter to which I do not agree, all the same there are equally important, if not more important matters, and I fail to understand why equal anxiety is not being demonstrated in regard to those matters. For instance, there are persistent cases of floating of awards and challenge to the authority of law. Speaking on the labor relations bill, I surveyed the situation in other countries in order to refresh my memory. In the course of the last few days, I looked into the labor legislations of other countries. For the information of the House, I may UK or the USA. It may be said that in those two countries there is no system of compulsory adjudication. When I turned my attention to those countries where the system of compulsory adjudication is prevalent, namely Australia and New Zealand, even I did not come across any system of appellate tribunal. The only part of the world where there is a system of appellate tribunal is Latin America, but even there, although there is the appellate tribunal, its scope is limited. Sir, I am glad to move this motion, and still more so because the prospect of having the assistance of members of both houses while dealing with this bill in the select committee is quite satisfying and promising. Under the normal rules, it is not usual to have such a joint select committee to deal with this and an allied bill, which I hope I shall have the opportunity of moving for consideration soon in this House. The bill as it is sufficiently voluminous, but its volume does not in any way indicate anything controversial about it. It is a straightforward bill. It goes into details and embodies a complete scheme in its provisions. It has more than 500 clauses and 10 appendices. The bill proposed to set up a municipal corporation for Delhi. This idea of a corporation of Delhi has been engaging the minds of the people of Delhi and those interested in its administration for a pretty long time. The first attempt to set up a corporation was made when a bill was framed sometime in 1947. According to that bill, only some of the civil areas of Delhi were to be included within the area that are administered by other local bodies in Delhi state, such as Shadra notified area, and others were to be left out, but this bill now goes much further. The entire civil area of the Delhi state, whether urban or rural, except the cantonment area and part of New Delhi, is to come within the scope of this bill. Delhi has suffered from a multiplicity of authorities. We have the electricity board, the transport board, the sewage and water board, and some other similar bodies. Now, the functions that are entrusted to these bodies will all be discharged by the corporation. So, the corporation will have a very important place in the civic life of Delhi. In fact, it will be discharging the most vital functions with which the everyday life of every citizen is intimately connected. On the satisfactory and efficient discharge of its duties by the corporation will depend to a large extent to comfort of the people of Delhi. water, light and other needs without which life is not at all possible will now have to be provided by this corporation. The corporation will consist of 80 members and these 80 will elect 6 aldermen. The 80 members will be elected by all adult residents of the area comprising the corporation. The electoral roll which had been framed or which may hereafter be framed for elections to the Lok Sabha will also serve as the roll for election to the corporation. So it will be broad based on the suffrage of the entire adult population of Delhi. Besides, as I just said, it will also has the opportunity of electing 6 aldermen, so that those who do not want to stand for election or who because of their experience of public life, of their reputation, public spirit and the like are considered to be particularly desirable for the efficient discharge of the duties by the corporation will thus be elected by the corporation itself. This is not now embodied in the corporation bill, but I propose to move an amendment to that effect in the select committee. I have just said that this corporation will also discharge all the duties relating to electricity, water supply, transport, sewage, drainage, etc. Even in the Bombay Corporation, the generation of electricity does not come within the purview of the corporation, although our own bill is modelled on the pattern of the Bombay Corporation. We have tried to liberalize it in certain respects. The corporation will have a mayor and we provide that under the rules, if it is so decided, the mayor or may be given housing and transport facilities too. The members too may, if such rules are framed and approved by the House, be allowed to draw some allowance for attending the meetings. As our public life is growing richer and all classes, howsoever poor, are coming forward to serve the community with devotion, it becomes necessary to make some provision of this type so that no one may be deterred because of his poverty and lack of resources from placing his talents and experience at the disposal of the community. So we have made that provision too. I understand that in Bombay also there is some such move for making provision for the members of the corporation. The corporation will, besides the mayor, have a deputy mayor and a general manager for transport, drainage and sewage and water supply. Besides these, many other functionaries will have to be appointed. The bill provides that all persons drawing a salary of rupees 350 or more will be appointed in consultation with the Public Service Commission, so that the controversies that are sometimes noticed in local bodies over appointments will be avoided. इसको अच्छे से लिखना है. अगर जैसे किसी बच्चे से नहीं लिखी दोबारा प्रैक्टिस कर लेनी है, फिर इसको लिखना है और फिर जो है इसको पढ़ करके फिर इसको टाइप करना है. और जो है अगर आपकी एक्यूरेसी 92 या उससे प्लस आती है तो यानी कि आप जो है एसएससी वगैरह का टेस्ट की कोई भी टेस्ट है आप 95% या उससे ज़्यादा एक्यूरेसी आपकी आती है सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर, 94 या 95 कितनी, हाँ इतनी आती है, तो आप किसी भी टेस्ट को आराम से क्लियर कर सकते हो. इस क्लास के अंदर इतने बच्चों नमस्कार.